very nice to meet you.
You too.
So here we are in Graz,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to see your poster last night,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing I came across was there was a sense of something quite surreal about it, about both the location and how it sits there.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about it now that you see it there up?
I mean, I like the idea of occupying billboards with something that's not commercial. I always really like when billboards are empty.
Is it something you've done before? Have you shown on billboards before?
No. But I've pasted images onto surfaces of the city and rephotographed them. So the idea of very ephemeral interventions into public space, I quite like, quite fond of. And it's surprising how long things can live and how things live. And it's somehow beyond your control. So you can't navigate or choreograph how people meet what you've placed there.
So there's something about, let's say, the ownership of something in public space. I'm wondering about your thoughts about, let's say, that relationship between the public space and then the domestic within the work that's there.
Yeah, I mean the relation on one side is very direct. So it's presenting a domestic space which is private and interior and not often seen by the public in a public space. And the domestic space has been intervened into with a piece of furniture, a two-dimensional replica of a piece of furniture by the Irish modernist designer Eileen Gray. So there's some layers of action and performativity going on in the work. And I guess the most simple way to talk about it is through questions of representation. And the houses that are pictured are photographed by the people who live there. And they're queer women who live in these houses. They're friends of mine as well. Eileen Gray was a queer woman, but this is written out of her history often and mostly. So it's a way of, in a way, reclaiming Gray's legacy and work and design, which is now very much lives in the realm of museum collections and luxury reproductions. Reclaiming it from the perspective of people who live precariously. And queer women typically don't have very much access to public space or very much ownership of public space. So it's a bit of a play on bringing that very interior, private, but also semi-public space, a place of meeting, a place of socializing, into public space as a way of marking public space, as temporarily doing something else in terms of representation. So it's a question and a tension between what's private and what's public, who owns the private and who owns the public, what it means to share these spaces that are often hidden, histories that are often hidden as well within them. So it's this kind of layering that the actions themselves are quite straightforward, but to talk about them becomes a little complex. I think sharing, like collaboration or like collectivity, it's rarely even. These things are rarely totally balanced. I think that that's a bit of a myth. Like talking about a safe space. I don't know if any space is actually safe. But I think that the act of sharing happens in letting go of something that's usually not seen into a very visible realm.
The collaborators that you work with are friends of yours. It takes a lot of trust on their part to put themselves in the position of being on a billboard in Graz, being part of the project in this way. How is this process, and how do they feel about it?
I have to check back with them. I still have to send them photographs of the billboards, but they have been very trusting. They're both artists also, so it's almost a double trust in that way because it's a collaborative work, but they put a lot of it into my hands. And I think it was quite clear what was going to happen with the images, that they would live in public space and also inside the exhibition, that they might be used in other ways as well. And then it's also, I think for me, it's always a case of taking care of the authorship, that it's very, very clear that people are co-authors. And that's an extra layer to the work, because this is very often written out.
Let's maybe talk a little bit about the connection between the billboards and the show that you have here in the Grazer Kunstverein.
Yeah, in a very direct way, the images repeat in the exhibition. And I think in the exhibition they repeat more as almost like a portal into the private space within a highly constructed environment. So it's quite, I think you would meet them quite differently in the exhibition than you would on the street. There's no control over the relational exchange or what they mean. So meaning is really given to them in that encounter without any choreography except for the placement. If you meet them in the exhibition, they're in relation to other works, printed zines, publications, and material panels, a video work, and also reproductions of the two-dimensional furniture that appear in the images. So I think that there's a play of cross-connections that can happen in the exhibition that would probably change the perspective of the meeting that would happen in the public space. So I hope that there are even a handful of people who move into the space of the exhibition who recognize the image.
What I would add to that, though, is I think that the image in the public space is read within the context of advertising as well. So this question of the kind of codes of representation comes much more to the fore than when you see them in the exhibition. So you read them in terms of lifestyle, of how we read the codes of, and of course the reading of social codes is also very much a part of your exhibition here, within the denim works. But it happens in two very different ways. Indeed, I do hope that people see them both, because I think that would. Okay. Another observation I had about the work there was to do with the play of scale, because it's on the gable end of a house, and it's quite a small house within that street. So there is this uncanny moment of you're almost looking into this house. It's perhaps coincidental, perhaps not, but it adds let's say a moment of double take, and to read into the images you have to spend more time with them. But this uncanny moment allows a second look, I feel.
Yeah, I think also it's a curious thing to have billboards of domestic space during the time of a global pandemic, when most people have experienced some form of lockdown or restriction and spent certainly a lot more time in domestic space. So I think that domestic space at this moment takes on a different texture than previously. So I hope that also layers up a little bit with these things in place. it was a possible way to do the collaboration. I had wanted to make these images with people in their homes and be much more present, but it wasn't possible. So it was a way to keep the possibility active as well.
Well, thank you, Emma, for taking us through your Grazer Kunstverein, and I was really struck by it yesterday night when I saw it. I have to say, I was really I found it very powerful work. So did my partner Priscilla. We were talking about it all the way home. Yeah,
it's really nice.
Really nice. We're really happy with it.
Yeah, thanks, Edward.
Yeah.